Hey guys, this is Chad at Pristine Auto Detailing, and today I'm going to show you how to clean an engine bay. Alright guys, so we have this 2015 Dodge Ram Cummins. It's a vehicle for resale for a dealership. We want to make sure we get the engine bay detailed really well. So we're just going to do a quick walk around inspection, just kind of see what we're working with here, and see what we need to clean and what we might not need to clean, and just kind of get an idea where to go from here. So let's take a quick look and see what we're working with. Alright, so let's just do a quick inspection so we can inspect the engine bay, make sure there's no damage, kind of see what kind of steps we need to do on this particular vehicle. Just looking at this battery insulation, the battery cover looks like it was chewed up by a mouse. They tend to like that for their mouse nest. This battery over here looks alright. A little bit of chewing back there, probably from a mouse. I got your typical leaves and pine needles up there at the cowl. That's pretty common. We'll take care of that. And then all in all, it's just regular dust and dirt. Nothing uncommon. Most engine bays do look like this. And then at the hood insulation, we have some like salt stains, possibly from, I guess it could possibly be from road salt, or could be from previous cleaners. Maybe they used some kind of cleaner and it left something behind, but it's some kind of salt residue. So we'll try to tackle this even before we get it wet. So yeah, let's get started. Alright, before we do anything, we're going to remove some of these leaves. You can either use a vacuum. These leaves will clog up your vacuum. So a lot of times any big stuff I'll just remove by hand or with the air gun or leaf blower. But all this stuff we can just take off by hand. It's nothing really tiny under here. But the vacuum usually works the best. And you want to make sure you clean all this stuff out before you get it wet, because it's a lot worse trying to get this stuff out when it's all wet. There's still some stuff. Usually fill it up around the wipers. You'll find a lot of little particles, the stuff that, like leaves and little dangly things. I don't even know what they're called, but it's easier just to blow them out with the air gun. If you don't have an air gun, you can use your vacuum. So we're just going to blow some of this stuff out. Some guys will even remove this cowl. It's not too hard to remove. There's a couple of little clips and stuff. If it's really dirty, sometimes it's easier just to remove, whether it's a Ford, Chevy, or Dodge, or any vehicle. Sometimes you can just remove this whole cowl panel. If there's a lot of pine needles like stuck in and underneath, sometimes that's easier. Next, we'll just clean up some of this insulation so it doesn't look like such a mess. It really stands out like it was chewed up by a mouse. This will just make it look a little bit better. Kind of push down some of the, you don't want to remove it all, just some of the straggly stuff. This isn't very common on every single truck, but run into it every once in a while. To remove some of this salt residue off the hood insulation, we're going to use the spray away salt off remover. Just shake it up good and apply it and let it sit for a couple minutes. Alright, so we applied all the salt off to the salt residue all over the hood insulation. And with hood insulation, you want to make sure you inspect it first, especially if it's someone else's vehicle that you're working on, because sometimes they're starting to deteriorate or fall apart, or sometimes they're sagging. It's never a good idea to oversaturate them when you detail the engine bay, because you get all that weight and it absorbs all the water, and then it starts to sag because all that weight's bringing the bringing the insulation down. So you want to make sure if you do wash it, especially if it's starting to fall apart or already sagging, that you don't oversaturate it. But this one looks pretty good. It just has a lot of salt residue. So we're going to give it a light scrub, let it sit for a little bit, give it a light scrub, and then we'll rinse it off when we do the engine bay. So we let the salt off spray absorb into the fabric a little bit. If you don't have the salt off, you can use like a mixture of a little bit of vinegar to water, like a white vinegar. Spray that on there, and that'll help loosen up some of the salt residue. We're just going to give it a light scrub with the our tire shine brush. Just a light scrub. You don't want to damage the hood insulation. Just agitate it a little bit, and then we'll rinse it off later. These things here are a lifesaver. If you work on your truck a lot, I highly recommend one of these wheel steps. All right, so we got some of the prep work done with the hood insulation, the battery cover over there. Removed any of the leaves and any pine needles and stuff. You want to remove all that before, like I said, before you even make the engine bay wet. Now it's actually time to clean this engine bay. You want to be careful with any engine bay, no matter what the year is. I would say they got a little bit easier to detail, like 2006, 2007. In newer vehicles, they tend to cover up a lot more of the electrical components to keep them watertight and keep the water out of stuff. This one doesn't have coil packs, it's a diesel, but if you have coil packs like on some of the Fords or older vehicles where everything's exposed, you want to be careful not to oversaturate any of that stuff with water. Like your alternator, I always recommend always covering up the alternator, especially if it's on the top of the motor, if it's easily accessible, or if it's not easily accessible, just don't spray around the alternator. Just don't get it all wet. It's okay if you get a couple drips on it, but you don't want to spray directly in the alternator. Same goes for your batteries. You don't want to oversaturate the battery areas. To be even more preventive, you could even disconnect your batteries, or if you wanted to, you could take them out. Typically, we don't do that on customer vehicles because it does take a little bit more time. But the biggest thing is it resets the radio and all their settings, and then you got to mess with that. Or we like to leave all the factory settings in the customer's radio so they don't have to mess with it later. So you could even put like a towel or a bag over the batteries if you want to. But typically I just try not to spray direct water and oversaturate them areas. And if you have a cold air intake, this truck doesn't have a cold air intake, but if you have an exposed filter, you can put a bag over the filter, or you could actually just take the filter off and plug up the hole with towels or a bag itself. But the biggest thing you want to watch out for is electrical components, not spraying, oversaturating electrical components in your batteries and your intake system. All right, before we start the pre-rinse process, it's pretty important to not spray water on a hot engine. So if you've been driving your truck around all day, make sure you let it cool down for an hour or so. You don't want to spray your cleaners and water and all that stuff on a hot engine, because it just doesn't work as well, and you could run the risk of damaging something spraying cold water on a super hot engine. So yeah, just let it cool down, guys. So yeah, we're gonna pre-rinse everything with water, and then I'm even gonna pre-rinse the fenders. I always recommend pre-rinsing the fenders as well. We don't use like a high alkaline based all-purpose cleaner. We're actually gonna use a citrus cleaner, so it's very safe to use. But if you're using like a simple green, or like a really strong degreaser, or like a high alkaline based cleaner, like an all-purpose cleaner, make sure to pre-rinse your fenders. Get them wet. That way, if you do get any product on the fenders, it'll kind of dilute it some. And if you do get some on there, make sure you rinse it off sooner rather than later, because you could get some possible staining. It's not the end of the world. It can be fixed, but you want to try to reduce any damage that you could possibly cause. So make sure to when you pre-rinse the hood and everything, pre-rinse the fenders as well. If you have a painted front end, it's probably not a bad idea to pre-rinse that as well. Just get some water on it. And we always clean the engine bay also first. Before we do the exterior, we always do the engine bay first, in case we do get any kind of drips or product cleaners on the outside. But if you want to prevent all that, just go with a really neutral cleaner, such as like a citrus base. Like Detail King has a citrus base. A lot of companies, probably all the companies, have like a citrus base degreaser or all-purpose cleaner that's not, and you can dilute it down so it's not super strong, and you don't have to worry about any kind of staining on the actual paint itself. But the biggest thing is just be careful where you spray them and don't oversaturate them kind of areas. So yeah, let's get started. We'll just give it a light pre-rinse from the top down, and then we'll pre-rinse the whole front end. A lot of this light dirt will come off pretty much in the pre-rinse. This one's not super dirty. Usually this is about how they look. But yeah, just lightly pre-rinse everything, and then we'll get into the cleaning process. All right, that should be pretty good. All right, now we'll just saturate everything with our Detail King Citrus degreaser. You don't have to get crazy with it. The biggest areas are probably the plastics, the cowl, and the hood. Scrub everything with a soft bristle brush from the top down. We use a couple different brushes depending. We use this one, and then we'll use this one, a bigger one and a smaller one. This one's like a boar's hairs brush, and this one's just like a soft, like a wheel brush. So we'll just clean everything from the top down, making sure to be somewhat careful. I'm not going to scrub the insulation again. You don't really need to. Clean the whole hood first, then we'll move on to the actual engine. Jump in here. This area is always dirty. Alright, so the hood should be just about good. Got it all clean. And now we'll move on to the engine bay. Clean up this cowl with the brush. If you can't reach in any tight areas, like these are kind of tight, you can use your smaller brush to get in there. This actually works a little bit better. Takes a little bit longer, but you can at least get in all the cracks a little easier. so now we got everything agitated with the citrus cleaner and the brushes. Now we need to rinse it off before everything dries. Now that we got all the cleaner rinsed off, the engine bay is clean. It's just all wet. So in this time, you can dry it if you want to. We always dry them here. If you're in a personal car and you're not too worried about it, you don't have to dry it off. You could let it just air dry. But we like to blow out all the cracks and crevices, especially around this air cleaner. There's a lot of little areas that hold water. So we'll take some compressed air. You can use a leaf blower, or you can use like a vacuum that blows. But we're just going to use the air compressor and blow off the whole engine bay, and then kind of inspect it and see where we're at there, see if we want to apply any kind of plastic shine or vinyl shine to the plastics. So yeah, let's blow it off. So we have the engine bay finally clean. We blew out any cracks or crevices where all the water kind of puddles up. And typically this is when I would shut the hood, wash the whole truck, finish the full detail, and then after I'm done drying off the paint and stuff, I'll come back and pop open the hood last and just fine tune anything, whether I need to apply like a plastic or vinyl shine to any hoses. Or plastics. We try to get them as clean as we possibly can when we do the engine bay detail. That way we don't have to apply a lot of vinyl shine. You really don't want like a lot of silicone or petroleum based products underneath the hood. You don't want to spray tire shine on underneath the hood. It may kind of look good temporarily, but it collects a lot of dust, a lot of dirt, and if you really oversaturate it maybe with like a petroleum based tire shine, I've already seen it, not here, but I've seen it when I worked at the dealership. They would spray tire shine all over the engine bay. And at one time it actually like kind of caught on fire and the engine started smoking because they sprayed so much tire shine on it, and all that oil or whatever was in the tire shine actually heated up and was like smoking out of the engine bay. So I don't recommend like using tire shine. If you want to apply some vinyl shine to the plastics, I'll kind of show you how we do it here. Just spray it on a rag. Some spots you can kind of squirt it on the plastics, but I recommend just spraying it directly on the rag. That way you don't get any dressing on the belt. But just, yeah, hand apply the vinyl shine to your plastics. So yeah, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to wipe off any of the paint with some nice towels, fine tune the paint, and then we'll fine tune all the plastics. Same with this process, we'll always work from the top down. We're just gonna spray a little ONR. You can use basic quick detail spray, just some kind of drying agent and some lubrication. That way you don't scratch the paint all up. But we'll just do all the hood paint, and then we'll do the paint that's on the fenders. Alright, so we got all the paint wiped off. As you can see here, the plastics and stuff are all fairly clean. Hopefully my camera will focus in here. Everything's actually really clean, but if you want to just take it to the whole next level, you could wipe all your plastics down with a vinyl shine. This one doesn't really need it. I cleaned it pretty well with the citrus cleaner. But we'll just go through and wipe some of the main plastics down anyway, such as this panel here, the air box, this cover here, and maybe the wiper cowl, and that's pretty much all the plastics that really need wiped down. So yeah, let's try that out. Yeah guys, like I said before, I don't recommend spraying the product on the actual engine bay. I definitely don't recommend spraying your whole engine bay with tire shine. I've been detailing for over 17 years or so, and I've seen it a million times, especially at the dealers. They'll just spray the whole engine compartment with the same product they use for the tires. I don't recommend doing that because you get stuff where you don't want it in the pulleys, in the electrical components, and it actually just collects more dust later on in the future. It looks okay temporarily in the parking lot at the car dealership or at the car show, but it ends up making more of a mess than anything. And then when your mechanic or yourself goes to work on it, you're getting tire shine all over your clothes and all over your body. So usually if you want to dress up your plastics, whether it's with like a vinyl shine or if your plastics are really faded, you could use like the solution finish trim restoration. That works really good on engine, like on engine plastics and stuff. It'll restore like gray plastics back to like black plastics, and it stays on there. It doesn't wash off, and it doesn't collect dust, and it's not greasy. But for this one, it actually looks really good just with basic cleaning and dusting it off. But we're just gonna go through and spray a little Detail King vinyl shine right on our applicator pad here on our microfiber towel, and just wipe all the main plastics down. But yeah, that's all you really gotta do. So we'll just wipe all the plastics down. If you want that extra little bit of shine with like a vinyl shine, or I don't really recommend tire shine. If you're gonna use a tire shine, make sure you don't spray it on the engine. Put it on a microfiber towel and wipe it on. But usually your plastic trim restoration stuff will work just fine. I just don't like the greasy looking engine bay. I just like a nice new, nice clean engine bay, not that high shine where you see yourself in the fan cover. Like, I don't want to be able to see myself in the plastics. Alright guys, so this truck should be good to go for the customer as far as the engine bay goes. Did the whole cleaning, vinyl shined everything, rinsed it off. I don't have any puddles of vinyl shine or tire shine. I hate seeing that when you open up a hood and there's like puddles of tire shine in like little pockets or little crevices. So make sure to do it by hand if you can. If you got to shoot a little spray in here and there, it's no big deal, but I wouldn't soak the whole engine compartment with a vinyl shine or tire shine, because you could just cause more issues than you want to deal with. But yeah, this one should be good to go. If you want to clean the under the engine bay, we will on this one. We'll degrease under the engine and then use the bottom blaster to clean out underneath. But if that's a whole nother video. But yeah, right now we're at like 635 subscribers, and with the new, I'm sure you heard the new YouTube policy and stuff for like ad revenue and stuff. We were making for 2017, I think I was averaging maybe like $50 a month. Nothing major. It's just kind of cool to see a little bit of income off making videos, because usually like a video will take me a few hours to edit. So there is a lot of time that goes into it, but they're getting rid of my ad revenue. I guess the new policy for next month, starts next month, is you have to have 1,000 subscribers, and then you have to have like over 4,000 hours of view duration or whatever. We have way over 4,000 hours for 2017, but we don't have 1,000 subscribers yet. It's not a big deal. Gonna keep making videos. If anything, it just kind of motivates me to even hit it even harder. But I thank you so much for subscribing. That 635 is a huge number. I can't even believe that many people have subscribed to the channel, so I definitely appreciate it, guys. And if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you have any questions about detailing or just this video in itself and the engine bay detail, if it's something you didn't like, hey, comment below. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter to me. I'll make sure to comment back if you have any questions. But yeah, thanks guys, and enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later.